I'm Jake, you're watching Gas Guzzlers, and this is the Hyundai Ioniq 5, and no one is in the driver's seat, but it is driving by itself. This is just one of a ton of cool features this vehicle has, and we're gonna check them out in this Hyundai Ioniq 5 review. I'm Jake, you're watching Gas Guzzlers, let's get into it. All right, Colin, it's an electric car. You know what we have to do.
We have to launch it.
Hyundai Ioniq 5 electric launch. 3, 2, 1, here we go. And off we go to the races. What you guys heard there was all of our gear flying back in the trunk as we went 0-60 in about 5 seconds there. Right now, we have the all-wheel drive model of the Ioniq 5, the Limited. Can't wait to show you guys it today. Colin, let's just start by talking about the driving dynamics. I love how this thing drives.
Yeah, I do too, and I think it's worth noting there are 3 distinct driving modes. Of course, you have your eco mode. That's going to be very tame. The car feels rather sluggish in that mode.
Yeah, it really smooths out your acceleration.
It does, but if you're really worried about your range, that's the mode you're going to want to be in. Of course, you can step it up a notch to normal mode. You know, when you're just driving around the family, just a nice normal drive, that's the mode for you. And then of course, what we just demonstrated was the sport mode. That'll give you the crazy launch, and if you really want to feel what electric power can do to a vehicle, you need to try that mode. And of course, I talked about range. Between those modes, it's about 3 to 5 miles of range difference.
Yeah, and you know, range is the name of the game with the electric cars. We'll pull over to a charger soon. We have about 86 miles of range right now left in the car. We've been driving for a while in this thing, and we're excited to share our experiences with you. But I just have to say, you know, this car goes beyond the crazy acceleration. I love the feel of the steering. I think the suspension is comfortable. I really like the driving dynamics of this car. And one interesting thing about the drive modes too is it changes how your cluster looks, which I really like. It gives a real distinct look to the gauge cluster every time you change through. But with that, you know, I want to talk about some of the tech of this car real quick, because this car has some real cool parking features and camera features. So what do you say we pull over, do some parking, and show people some of the tech there?
Let's do it.
All right. Colin, let's talk parking, because there's a lot to talk about in this vehicle. Let's start with the cameras.
Yeah, we have to talk about these cameras first. And this does have the drone view camera. And I have to say, this is one of the best drone views I've seen. I mean, very good view of the surrounding. It even has the car model looking very accurate.
Yeah, GTA 6 looks crazy, bro. Playing it right there.
It is. It's almost like a video game how good this looks. Well, not that good, but for what we've seen in tech in cars like this is very impressive.
Yeah, and you have a lot of other cameras that are useful too. Some might think that's a gimmick. What I don't think it's a gimmick, because it's really helpful for pulling into electric charging booths. Also really helpful, the 360 camera is great for parking. We also have a front camera here, and of course we can take a look at the back. If we put the car in reverse, it's automatically going to show us what's behind us. We put it in drive forward, it's going to show us what is ahead of us. And also, you heard that beeping for a second there? That is the acoustic sensors. It has the sensors doing the sonar, making sure that, you know, we're not going to hit anything. Now, this car has a self-parking function. We're just going to hold the parking camera button, and this car does something that not many others do. Your car might park itself, but this car will park itself while you're outside of the car. So we're going to demonstrate that now. We found a spot. You can see it's highlighted the spot right there on the screen that we want to do. It's selected automatically the correct type of spot pull-in. You can do all these different types of parking. It automatically identified what we need. Okay, select the parking type. We are going to do remote parking. So we're going to put the vehicle in park, and now let's get out and see how this works. Now, I'm going to hold the park button on the key here, and it's gonna start moving on its own. There is nobody in this vehicle right now. Now, a quick trick I learned while practicing this earlier, you must stay pretty close to the car while it's doing this. If it senses you walk too far away with the key, it is going to stop and take forever to restart. But it's moving pretty quick right now. Is it gonna stop? It stops in front of the VW automatically. Is it gonna pull forward and to the right now? We will see. Here we go. We're coming forward. It is a little bit like a 15-year-old driver. Like, it's got the basics, and it's rightfully very cautious, right? I think a lot of people would prefer this be overly cautious compared to overly ambitious. We're getting a little closer, but it saves it. Guys, this is the future. There is nobody in this car and it is parking itself. The steering wheel moving all on its own right now. I'm sure View's absolutely crazy. Now, you're thinking, I could do this way faster on my own. That is probably true. However, what this feature is really good for, okay, got a little close there. Imagine if you live in a city and it's really hard to park, right? You have cars really close together. Imagine you use this feature, the car's gonna park itself. You don't have to worry about getting out of the car, dinging up the car next to you. Now this thing might ding up this Volkswagen next to us. I'm watching very closely. We may speed up this part. Maybe a Tesla. Okay, it got angry. It said it's done, but you know what? It's a pretty bad parking job, but it's still a really cool party trick. Looking at the exterior design of the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the first thing that's really striking about this vehicle is the parametric pixel headlights. Now, the parametric pixels are found not just in the headlights, they're found around the vehicle. Hyundai has kind of said, look, a grille used to be how a car brand was defined. It was the visual cohesion between all the models in the lineup was in the grille. Well, that's gone with electric cars. No grille needed. You don't need all that air intake to, fuel combustion engine. So how are brands going to stand apart? Well, Hyundai thinks it's going to be these parametric pixel designs. You're going to find those throughout the Ioniq lineup, and there are more examples of it throughout this vehicle. That's how you're going to know it's a Hyundai Ioniq vehicle. Now, this vehicle still needs air intake because you have to cool the battery and the motor. That is what these flaps are for down here. These flaps will open up when the vehicle needs cooling. They're going to allow air in, and that is how the vehicle is going to cool. But when that cooling is not needed, those flaps close. That's going to increase your aerodynamic efficiency. Also, for aerodynamic efficiency, Hyundai's first clamshell hood. Now, this is a more complex type of hood, but what it does is it reduces the panel gaps in the vehicle. That's going to increase aerodynamic efficiency. Those parametric pixel headlights, they're including all the normal safety features you would expect to see in vehicle lighting these days. Automatic headlights, they're projector headlights, so they're going to be very powerful, very crisp and clear. On top of that, you're going to have automatic high beams. Really like this vehicle, but there is one disappointment up front. And that one disappointment comes down to the front. Now, access the front, you just open where your normal latch would be for an engine bay. And of course, the clamshell hood pops right open just like that. Coming around, the similarities to an engine bay continue. You have a little flipper switch right here that you hit, and you're gonna see there is no frunk space here. There is a little tiny bit right here. Hyundai says it's 57 liters, which sounds like a lot, but really, you're not fitting much in here. You may fit your charging cable in here, and that's it. Now, here's the thing about frunks. I personally like a frunk because I like to go hiking, I like to go running, and I like to take my sweaty, smelly, terrible clothes, chuck them in a drainable frunk, and not have them messing up the interior. I think for people who do outdoor sports things, which is a big part of the EV market at the moment, that is a really great feature to have. However, I also understand the reason for not having a frunk, and that is this. By moving all these components, the fluid reservoirs and whatnot, into the front area right here, you're opening up more room in the interior. So you make a more airy, roomy interior. So that's the trade-off between a frunk and no frunk. It really comes down to personal preference. And now you can see our Hyundai Ioniq 5 has opened up to us. These vents right here that were previously closed have opened up so the car can let some air in. I also wanted to turn on the lights here just to show you a bit more up close what this parametric pixel design is doing. So you have the individual pixels, which are your daytime running lights, and contained within them is kind of this large brick that's your main headlight. You also get this great mustache that runs along the front of the car. This light up mustache looks very recognizable when you're out and about driving. You know that someone is pulling up in one of the latest and greatest electric cars if you see this in your rear view mirror. At the side of Ioniq 5, this vehicle is defined by its bold styling. I love it. We've gotten a lot of compliments on this vehicle as we've been driving it around town. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you love it? Do you hate it? What do you think? I'm interested to hear what you have to say. But one thing that is undisputable is the fact that this vehicle is extremely aerodynamic. How have they done that? First of all, minimizing panel gaps, right? We talked about this clamshell hood. Minimizing panel gaps is going to increase that aerodynamic efficiency. Also increasing your aerodynamic efficiency, your handles right here. You will see your door handles fold flush into the vehicle. Now, if I unlock the vehicle by rubbing my finger right over that little square right there, that little parametric pixel, you will see that the door handles are going to present themselves. But when you're driving along, the doors are going to be folded in and you're going to be nice and slippery moving through the air. Also making this car nice and slippery are going to be your wheels right here. Your 20-inch alloy wheels are aerodynamically optimized. What's that mean? Well, on this vehicle, they filled in a lot of the spokes towards the center. That's going to result in less air turbulence as the wheels are turning. That's going to increase your aerodynamic efficiency as well. Something interesting about the wheels of this vehicle, the wheelbase is extremely long for a vehicle this size. This wheelbase is about 4 inches longer than Hyundai's 3-row SUV Palisade. What's that going to do? By pushing the wheels out to the corners, Hyundai is increasing interior volume in the vehicle, and it has worked. This is an extremely roomy vehicle on the interior. This color behind me is Shooting Star. It's kind of this matte gray. I think it looks great, but I would personally recommend checking out Gravity Gold. It's like a silver color with some gold undertones. I think it looks fantastic. It's the hero color. Definitely check it out. Again, let me know what you think about the styling. This vehicle, I think, is really good looking. The charging port is quite interesting, and that's because it's fully automated. You hold a button on the key and boop, it goes all the way up just like that. Now you're saying, Jake, what if I run out of battery or something? How am I gonna open this up to charge the car in an emergency? Hyundai's got you covered. You open the trunk right here and there's a physical release you can use to unlock this port and open it. One thing I really like is the little parametric pixels continue here and they show you the state of charge, so you can just walk by your vehicle and see where it is in the state of charge. We'll talk about the actual charging specs in just a bit. At the rear of Ioniq 5, the fun tricks continue. First of all, your parametric pixels continue back here. They look absolutely great when they're lit up at night. Love that distinctive Hyundai feature. Now, something else that's distinctive about Hyundai is the way that they do their hands-free liftgate. You may be familiar with hands-free liftgates from other brands. The idea is you walk around to the back of the vehicle, you kick your foot under the bumper, and a sensor senses your foot and opens up the tailgate. There's a big problem with this system, and that is you look like an idiot when you're out in the parking lot and you are doing this dance trying to get the sensor to pick up your foot. Hyundai has fixed this problem. You simply lock the vehicle, walk around towards the back of the vehicle, you stand here long enough, it's going to detect that you're standing back here and is going to automatically open up the tailgate for you. That is a much better way of doing this. I have had a few false openings where I didn't intend to open the trunk, but the vehicle detected me back here and opened it anyways. But I would say the benefits outweigh the negatives when it comes to this system. Now, there are more traditional ways you can open the vehicle, of course. First of all, you can use your key, and there's also a button on the trunk itself. Opening it up right here, you're gonna find 18.7 cubic feet of space. It is important to note there's a pretty aggressive slope back here, so you know you're kind of limited vertically. However, we went on a road trip with this vehicle with 4 guys and all of their stuff, and it all fit in here just fine. So there's plenty of room in this vehicle. You have little storage cubbies that are thoughtful down here for your charging cables and such. That is great to see. I do have some complaints about the back here. First of all, putting down these seats right here is not easy. There's not like a shoulder mounted button. You have to walk around to the side to drop those seats. Also, I would like to see more power options back here. You do have a cigarette lighter. You have great power options up front. You have that vehicle to load function, which we'll chat about, and features such as that USB and whatnot. But I would like to see a larger outlet back here in addition to that cigarette lighter. Now, if you put down those seats right there, you're gonna find around 56.5 cubic feet of space. Real impressive storage for this car. I really like it overall. I think it's very practical, the amount of space you're getting, even if it lacks some of those creature comforts. All right, Colin, some of that parking tech is super cool, but why don't we talk about some of the creature comforts and, you know, helpful driver auxiliary functions in this car?
Yeah, I think the most important thing on any vehicle is, well, how does the cabin feel? Is it comfortable? Is it quiet? Do you have nice materials? And I have to say, this car really lives up to expectation. These seats are very comfortable. I find it quite comfortable to drive this thing for long distances. Of course, everything's very reachable. Of course, Jake mentioned that this car has an expanded wheelbase. So you're gonna get even more cabin space in this vehicle, and you really feel it in the front. I have this seat in a comfortable spot. The back is gonna be comfortable, and you have all this space in the middle. And of course, this car is an electric car, so they're really trying to drive home the renewable factor. So the inside of this car has bioplastics and made out of recycled bottles, all these new technologies to make this as green as possible. Of course, I have to talk about some of the amenities. You have these very comfortable seats, and Jake, with electric cars, heated seats can be a bit of a weird spot.
Yeah, in fact, they're really an important spot for electric cars. And the reason for that, you'll see almost all electric cars come with the heated seats, and that's because it's a lot more energy efficient to heat up just the seat compared to heating up all the air in the cabin. So if you're worried about range and staying warm, you turn on your heated seat, it's gonna keep you warm while allowing you to save range. Because Hyundai has this really cool feature, a lot of electric cars have this, where it will show you how much range you're losing because of climate. Right now we have 86 miles of range. If I turn on the climate right now, let's turn it up a little bit, we're gonna immediately lose 5 miles of range by turning on our climate. So having those heated seats are a really great function. And I just wanna say, I agree with you on this interior. It's really clean and open. I think especially in this white color, they did a real nice job on the creature comforts in this vehicle.
Of course, some other really cool tech of this vehicle is its tunnel feature. So if you take this vehicle through a tunnel, you don't want all that nasty air in your vehicle. So it'll automatically turn on the air recycle. So the air will just keep cycling from the car until you're out of the tunnel.
Yeah, I saw that in the infotainment, in the climate section. I just thought, I was like, what is tunnel? There's a checkbox that says tunnel, and sure enough, you hit it, and that's a really neat kind of artificial intelligence-y type of power, superpower this car has. And this car has a lot of other superpowers, especially the highway driver assist too. I've been really impressed by that system. Essentially, when you're on the highway, this car's gonna keep you in your lane, and it's also gonna control your speed, radar cruise control. We've seen that in a lot of vehicles. But one thing that this car does that not many others do is it'll automatically change lanes. So you just put your blinker on when you have the highway driver assist on, and it's automatically going to change lanes for you. The first time I had highway driver assist on, I put on the blinker and I see green arrows pointing to the left lane, and before I even touch anything, before I do anything, the car starts changing lanes for me. Kind of caught me by surprise, but it is a really helpful feature. You do have to keep your hands on though. A little bit of a bummer, but I get why. I'm really liking this infotainment system.
I am too. You have a lot of nice things. Of course, first let's talk about the dual 12.3-inch screens, one in front of the driver and then one in the middle. One complaint with those, you would like to see those be glass.
Yeah.
But I personally thought the plastic didn't feel that bad. I think it's acceptable, but that would definitely be something moving forward. Maybe for the Ioniq 6?
Yeah, well, Ioniq 6 I think has the same plastic ones too. And Ioniq 6 isn't like a follow-up to Ioniq 5. It's a little confusing because you would think 6 should come after 5, but really they're like a lineup. So it goes like 5, 6, and I guess one day there will be 7, 8, etc.
I know, but we're really getting ahead of ourselves. Those videos will come in time, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Subscribe, like and subscribe. But also, the one benefit of plastic, right? I gave the system crap for having a plastic screen or whatever. It means less smudges compared to glass, so that's another plus. But there were some other thoughtful features in there too.
Yeah, I think one of my personal favorites was quiet mode. So if you have children sleeping in the back of the vehicle, what you can do is put on quiet mode, and that'll quiet the speakers in the back, but it'll keep them at full volume in the front. I think that's a very thoughtful feature. Of course, another really cool feature, we've talked about this a lot, you always hear this, it's the big narrative of electric cars, range anxiety.
Oh my goodness.
And what they help you with in this car is the navigation will route you to the nearest charging station at all times. So if you are ever really getting anxious, like, oh man, I'm at 150 miles out of 200, I need to charge, it'll get you there.
Yeah, you were being real kind to me when I was driving down here over the Bay Bridge, and you and everyone else was telling me, oh, we're almost out of range, That was not funny. That was just really annoying after the first joke.
Hilarious.
But no, I agree with you. I think they put a lot of thoughtful features in. I also really like what they did with CarPlay, right? So you take your phone, you plug it in, it's wired CarPlay. Like, see, wireless, that Mazda CX-50 really spoiled us.
Yeah.
But you plug it in, all right, and some people like the wired because there's less delay between the Bluetooth and the sound and stuff, whatever. But you plug it in, and the CarPlay is not like widescreen like is in a lot of vehicles with screens of this size. The CarPlay takes up about 2/3 of the screen, and the right third is like kind of a dynamic panel that you can use for functions that CarPlay lacks. Things like a compass, things like what I find really interesting is the directions to the nearest charging range. Like you were saying, it will display that. So CarPlay takes up like 2/3 of the screen, and the right third is kind of used for like a modular area. So you can have a compass in there. You can have a map to the nearest charging port. So you have your Apple Map showing your final destination. On your right side though to that, you're seeing where your nearby charger ports are. Now, okay, Colin, the center console in this car, it's a little different, a little weird.
Yeah, so they have what they call this universal island, and what this will do is it'll slide all the way to the rear of the car. So you can grab this little handle right here and slide it back. And it can go pretty far back. And what this will do is it'll open up more space in the front, and it'll also give people in the back better access to charging ports. This is a very interesting feature that might seem like it has limited practicality, but you have a lot of open space in here. For example, say you get parked in and you don't want the car to unpark itself. You can easily just cross from side to side here. That is a very useful feature. Also, maybe you're driving yourself and you want to get something out of the glove box. You can pull over, and without having to get out on a dangerous highway, you can easily just transition across the vehicle. Like I said, it might seem a bit frivolous to have a feature like this, but it is very useful. Of course, one complaint people have about this vehicle is that you can't really control the seats from the back. However, you can lean the seat up using the lever right here. Of course, if I lean this up, you might have just heard a loud clang. Now that's one of the little unfortunate quirks of this vehicle. Our tripod has just fallen into the void. Now, what is the void, you might ask? Well, it's where you lose things that you might forget about. Your maybe house keys, former receipts, the middle child. In this vehicle specifically, the void is located between the second row in this back area. As you can see right now, it is occupied by our tripod.
Up here in the front, something we recently found, want to give you all an update. This cable connects our phone to CarPlay. Now, this can cause a bit of a problem sometimes because that outlet is kind of low on the floor, the USB port for CarPlay. So you drop this cable after you unplug your phone if you're careless, and while you move the island forward or back, it can get jammed on that. Just something to know. It's not too much of a hassle to unstuck it, but Hyundai gives you a nice little cubby down there to stuff the cable into. Definitely make good use of that smart little cubby. Colin, you find anything interesting back there?
I have to mention my favorite feature about this rear seating area is the glass moonroof. It gives so much additional light back here. And this is a very spacious seating area. These seats are correctly adjusted and I have a lot of free leg room. Some other fun features back here, of course, you have your standard drop down with two not great cup holders. However, these are definitely better than some of the competitors' cup holders. And Hyundai supplies you with some indoor storage for any capped water bottles. Some other nice amenities include vents. I love to see those, especially at this price point. I think a lot of manufacturers forget about those. You also have some charging amenities down here, a little storage area, and you have some nice ambient lighting around the vehicle. The blue inside the door handle and around these speakers. I have to say I quite like this rear seating area.
And you know what? You picked up on that ambient lighting. I wanted to touch on that too, just because I don't know what you think, but I think it looks really good with kind of this red copper accenting through the vehicle. They did a real nice job on the design here.
They really did.
But you know, the interior, it doesn't just look good. It's got a lot of good functionality in the rear there too. Something interesting that Hyundai did was they were able to make the front seats super strong, so they could make them 30% thinner and give you more rear leg room without having to, you know, compromise anywhere else or making the car larger. That's a really neat feature. Also back here, this is where you're gonna find the vehicle to load function. So there's a big power outlet back there, like a household size outlet, that can power up to something like 3.6 kilowatts. You can charge a scooter, an e-bike, something like that off of this vehicle. I really like that feature. Vehicle load is something you see on all the Hyundai Kia products now, and just using these cars as like giant battery banks, it's just a really smart idea. All right, we're parked. I just love when you park and there's like easy space to get out. I just think that is the coolest.
It is. It's really nice having open access to a parking spot. You'll be able to just get in and out. It is very comfortable.
Oh, what? What are these clowns doing? What are these guys doing? Now we're not going to be able to get in our car, Colin.
I know.
Our Hyundai Ioniq 5 has been tragically... Sir, please. There are so many open spots in this lot. Guys, let's be reasonable here. Colin, I think there's only one thing we can do.
I think there is.
If only our car could magically pull forward with the power of science and make our parking spot problems disappear. Now we have easy access to our doors. Now the way this works, all we did there to get this to work, you hit the lock button, you hold the auto start button, and then you hold the park drive forward button. After doing all of that, the vehicle will move out of the spot and free it up. Again, a little bit of a silly thing to do in rural Maryland, but if you're in a city, bet you this feature becomes pretty handy. Now, Colin, we're talking turn signals. Normally turn signals aren't this cool in vehicles, but this car has some other cool turn signal tricks up its sleeve, up above just automatically changing lanes for you.
Yeah, so in this vehicle, if you flip the turn signal, either side, it'll put a little camera on your driver display here, so you can see which side and what might be in your blind spot. That's very cool. A lot of cars will kind of have that feature moved to this center screen, and I think the problem with that is it really takes your eyes away from the road. But not Hyundai. They thought about that and they put that right on this center screen. So if I flick a turn signal, you will see a little camera pop up in the middle to show you what's in your blind spot.
Yeah, I think that's a great feature. I thought they thought through a lot of aspects of this car, and that's why I'm so confused about where they put the shifter. If you're like me and you like to sit up close to the steering wheel, my knee bumps against the shifter because it kind of juts out in this awkward way from the steering wheel. So for how well thought out most of this interior is, that kind of caught me by surprise. But that's not an issue for you because you sit a bit further back, right?
Yeah, but I will say it even threw me off a little bit. I got in the car and it was immediately like, okay, where is the shifter? How do I change this thing from drive to park and all of that stuff? I think that's the one little quirk about this interior that I'm not quite a fan of. Yeah, but you know what? Other than that, they did a pretty good job when it comes to the driver experience in this car. I would say it's clean, it's easy to find things, the screens work well. Overall, I really like the interior features and whatnot. Would you agree with that? I'd have to agree with that. All right, well, we're in town now. We are getting a little low on range. Range anxiety is a very real thing. I didn't think it would affect me, but it really has. So why don't we pull over and find a place to charge? Now we are at a charge point charger. I'm going to use my Apple Wallet, hold it near here, and it's going to tell me to plug into the vehicle. Now, let's talk about the charging. The fastest charging this vehicle can get, you're going to go about 10 to 80% in 18 minutes. This car charges really quick. That is real convenient. You can get a 58 kilowatt hour battery or a 72.6 kilowatt hour battery. Colin, what does that mean in real world terms while I plug this in? So if you have the single motor with the large pack, you're gonna have about 290 miles of range. But if you only have the large pack and the all-wheel drive like this vehicle today, you're gonna get about 230 miles of range. And I'll say that it really has impressed me. We made a long trip down here at St. Michael's, Maryland on the battery charge. We had plenty of time to drive around and film the vehicle and film down here. And now we're gonna charge it up to start our drive back home. So we're gonna plug it in and listen, the car will alert us that charging has started. Here we go. If I can get it, there we go. Ah, there we go, we'll cut that out. But yeah, so I've been really happy with how fast this car charges, and I've been really happy with the range. Definitely 2 thumbs up there. That 290 number is insane for the price point. If you want to hit those maximum range numbers, you're going to have to use regenerative braking. Now, regen braking is what it sounds like. As the vehicle slows down, it will slow itself down by using the motor as a generator and recoup energy and feed it back into the battery. It's going to extend your range, and it acts as a brake. It actually extends the life of your brake pads because you aren't using your brake pads to brake. You're using the resistance of the electric motor. Now, one thing that Hyundai does is they let you control that resistance in real time. Some brands set the level of regen braking in their car, how hard it's gonna stop you, and that's it. You don't get a say in what level it's gonna be. That's the worst implementation. There are other brands that let you change how strict the regen is, how much it will brake for you, but you have to do it through a menu or something. That's no good either. Hyundai has these easily accessible paddles right here, almost like paddle shifters, except they change the regen amount in real time. So you get on the highway, you want to coast, you just hit this paddle right here, you drop the regen level all the way down. It's going to be just like you're driving a gas car coasting on the highway. But then you get into town, you want to use your regen braking to slow you down instead of your normal brakes. You use the iPedal feature by bumping the regen braking all the way up with this paddle right here. And now the car will bring itself to a full complete stop using regenerative braking. Regen braking is a really cool feature, and I've really enjoyed making a game out of one pedal driving and not touching the brake pedal. It's Shave Jake. I come from the future here to tell you about a futuristic feature of the Ioniq 5, and that is Hyundai BlueLink. Now, BlueLink is Hyundai's connected car service that keeps your car connected to your phone, and the Ioniq 5 makes great use of it. For example, you can see the charge state of the vehicle. You can start the vehicle from here, get the climate running, get it all nice and toasty or cool in there. In addition, you can do things like lock and unlock the vehicle from here, and you can also flash the lights. So if you're trying to find your car in a parking lot, first of all, this will show you where your car
car is on the map. So you use this to get a rough idea of where your car is, and then once you're close by, you flash the lights and you'll be able to find your Ioniq 5 real quick. Really like the Blue Link and the smart connected features that Hyundai is offering here.
So that's it for the Ioniq 5, and I have to say my personal favorite feature is the interior of this car. I mentioned they have some of the eco-friendly stuff, the recycled materials, the bioplastics, and it doesn't feel cheap. Sometimes that stuff feels bad, you know, that's why people don't like it. In this car, it does not. That interior is stunning. The bright white color with the little copper accents and the blue mood light in. Beautiful interior. I love sitting in any part of this car. The rear, you have the moonroof. The front, you have comfortable seats. Jake, what do you think of this vehicle?
I'm just so impressed by the tech, right? We're over 200 miles of range. The charging on this thing is snappy. That 800-volt charging is so quick. The infotainment, the heads-up display is so clear. And this car's just impressed me, right? It didn't do a perfect job parking itself, but there's no other car, or there at least aren't many that can do what this thing can when it comes to parking. And also, you know, just being in a car and turning on the lane change and having it do it for you is just really a crazy, crazy feeling. It's got great cameras and the motors too. It's fast. It's fun to get people in here. This car really has a lot of party tricks. This car will make you popular if you buy it. You want friends, you want to buy friends, buy this car, you're gonna get friends. So yeah, I'm really happy we got to have some time with this car. But you know, I think for those of you who don't like electric, we might have something coming next week. Should we give them a hint?
It may or may not be the name of a very winterous biome.
Yeah, we might have a truck that resembles a cold biome coming. So keep an eye out for that video if trucks and towing and all of that are more your thing. But for those of you who are looking for a vehicle to take you and your friends around town, you live in a suburb, right? Something like that, or in the city, or even, you know, a rural area with some charging parts starting to be put around it, this vehicle is a great one for you. I'm Jake.
I'm Colin.
You're watching Gas Guzzlers. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in next week's video.